Okay, I lost connection. My apologies. I had to switch over to a different server. It is what it is. So hopefully, whoever was watching, Ari, that you will come back and see that I am now back in session. So anyway, this is a classic example of Mercury retrograde. If you're not familiar with Mercury retrograde, when that happens, technology, contracts, any big decisions, things of that nature, things are much more difficult when you're dealing with the Mercury retrograde. So it is what it is. So it is what it is. But anyway, back to what I was talking about. Yes, I'm staying in a hotel. Last week's notice that I got as far as an approval that I was asking for was not taken. So with me, I have been busy looking for opportunities online, remote, virtual, things of that nature, teleworking positions. So that's where I am right now. So I can relocate and live where the hell I want to live and still get cash flow. So that's where I am right now. Again, my plans had to be altered a bit. I will be in this area a little bit longer than I expected, but at the end of the day, it's going to work out. It's just the timing is going to be what it is. So that's what that is. And again, like I said, Mercury retrograde. When the proposal was put out there, that was as soon as Mercury retrograde began. And Mercury retrograde does not end. Let's see. It does not end until like the second week of March, I believe. Yeah, I think it's the second week of March. So, I mean, I expected things to work out the way it's going to work out. But at the same time, when you're in the middle of a Mercury retrograde, things don't always flow easily. You know, it's a bit more complicated. Mercury retrograde, what I've learned. Hi, Ari. Thanks for coming back and being patient with my technology. Okay. One thing I've learned about Mercury retrograde is even though things tend to get all wacky, you know, with life and things of that nature, but I also have learned that if there's something that you've been putting off, if there's something that you forgot about, or you didn't finish something, this is apparently the perfect time to get back to whatever you need to revisit. In my case, revisiting my resume, I did that. Revisiting LinkedIn, and just some skills, technology, and things of that nature that, I mean, I'm familiar with technology, but, you know, a lot of the lingos and jargons and things of that nature, I had to kind of like refresh myself because technology is constantly changing. And, you know, this next generation that are now in the driver's seat, they tend to make things a bit more complicated than, let's say, 20 years ago with technology. So just having to learn a lot of the jargons, lingo, things of that nature. I also took a course for teaching English as a second language, and I got that certification. I did all this past week, okay? It was a 120-hour certification course. So I went ahead and did that, got my certification, and I'm in the middle of, like I said, application processes with working from home, teaching kids. And the pay is not necessarily amazing, but it's something to get going while I am where I am right now. So obviously, like I said, being in a hotel, it has its perks, but it also has its um, cons, and cons will be the price. So even though I find deals, I'm finding myself having to move around a bit just to get the deals, you know. As far as the past couple of weeks, let's see. The last video I did with you guys, a live video, I was at a Marriott Courtyard. I am probably going to go back to that location for the next work week because I see a deal. It's through Marriott.com, and I do have a discount code through a friend of a friend. And so I'll probably end up going there. And again, I've been there before. I know the location. The commute is sweet. I'm going against traffic, or reverse commuting, as some people call that. So yeah, that's pretty much, you know, where I am right now. It was brought to my attention, and I'm not trying to make light of this, but with the coronavirus and things of that nature, and the person in the White House apparently, and this is what I'm hearing, apparently is going to restrict travel within the United States. And I don't know if that means they're going to be closing some schools. I mean, I don't know how intense that will be. But then someone told me, you might be able to do what you've been trying to do, because if they're going to close the schools down, then it'd probably be smart for, you know, employers to shut down the buildings and you work from home. Now, I don't want nothing horrible to happen to anybody. I don't want no one's lives to be taken or cut short because of a preference that I have, right? Sometimes when you put in a request, pray, what have you, sometimes in order for you to get whatever that is, there's the backside of things. And so, again, I don't want to make light of it or whatever like that, but wouldn't that be something where this outbreak or whatever will require people to stay home, school and everything like that, and stay home, and only emergency employees or what have you will be allowed to be outside the home. Now that's kind of spooky in and of itself, like a sci-fi movie type thing, but you never know. But anyway, and I thought about that thing, and I was like, wouldn't that be something that something horrible like that would happen and have people paranoid, and I still get what I wanted? Now, again, I would prefer it not to happen that way, but you never know. So I'm, you know, doing law of attraction, like I said, law of attraction, got my crystals and focusing on things that I expect in my life as if it's already done, right? And, you know, journaling and scribing, or scripting, I should say, sorry, scripting in my journal and all of this stuff. And this something like this crazy happened just so I can work from home. So hopefully it won't be that extreme, and I'll find opportunities, you know, that's bigger and better and brighter and shinier than the typical 9 to 5, dealing with multiple personalities and personality disorders, and you know, blah blah. So Ari says, explains for me one last time Mercury retrograde. Yeah, Mercury retrograde. I don't know if you asked this question before or after I explained it real quick, but I'm looking at the Old Farmer's Almanac right now, so I can just read it to you instead of, you know, guessing or giving you halfway answers. And again, this is just 2 paragraphs I'm reading. It says, due to the way our planet's orbit interacts with the orbits of other planets, they might sometimes appear to be traveling backwards through the night sky with respect to the zodiac. This is, in fact, an illusion, which we call apparent retrograde motion. 3 times a year, it appears as if Mercury is traveling backwards. We refer to these periods as times when Mercury is in retrograde motion, or simply Mercury retrograde. These times in particular were traditionally associated with confusions, check, delay, check, and frustration, triple check. Think email blunders and frazzled travel plans. Yeah. Cancellations, the check didn't clear, that type of stuff. But like I said, I've also learned that this would be the time to revisit things that you've put off. Like I said, I was going through my resume. I, studied and got a certificate in English as a second language. And get this, one of my old neighbors from back home when I was in, middle school, high school, whatever, she was the one who told me about the certificate. Well, actually, no. Yeah, she did tell me, but I didn't know I had to have a certificate to complete application process because, again, this is all new for me. I have 2 degrees. Like, I wouldn't necessarily feel the need to rely on certifications, but things have changed and more employers are more inclined to hire someone with certifications because it's subject specific or whatever versus a more broad degree. Or sometimes they want a degree as a prerequisite, but then a certification is like a stamp of approval for them. And of course, you have different certifications that are more prestigious or have more weight than others. And this is something I'm learning now. Which certifications should I spend my time obtaining, right? Versus those who are just, they're not respected within whatever industry. So anyway, so I'm going through the applications of whatever, and I'm like, because she threw out 3 or 4 companies, and again, the pay is not that great, and the hours are not necessarily like clockwork. So having multiple opportunities for different websites will be, ideal while you're getting yourself together to do whatever, right? Some kind of cash flow. And so I'm going through the application process and I'm like, oh, this website requires a certification. Let me go to the other one. Oh, this one does too. Looks like this is a trend. So I sent her a message. I was like, is there any way I can get around this whole certification thing? I mean, I do have 2 degrees. And she was like, no, you have to go through the certification, da, 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 da. And then she sent me a certification course through Groupon. And get this, guys, I only paid $17 for this course. But the original price was well over $400, like 400 something. All I know is I only paid $17 because it was a Groupon. So it was like, I guess the timing, even though it's Mercury retrograde, guys, but I guess the timing was right for me because, I think that offer was going to be expiring within like 15 minutes or something. So I got in just in time, get this course for only $17. And so I started the study exam. There was like 10 modules, and the study itself took me about 20, 25 minutes per module, depending on the complexity of some of the terminology of like things that we have learned over the years, from day one. And it's more so like common sense stuff. But being that this is a different culture and these kids come from different countries and stuff, this is not necessarily their norm. So we could talk to our little 3, 5, 4-year-old cousins, daughters, sons, nieces, and nephews, or whatever. And, based on our culture and our daily lives, they'll pick up on it. You tell them 2 or 3 times and they got it because that's their culture, that's their household. But when you are communicating with a very small child, again, a 5-year-old, and this is their second language, English, and they're coming from a different background, culture, and everything, even facial expressions, all of this, it takes some studying and getting familiar with the standards of whatever online company that you're going to be working with. Okay. So I had a crash course and all of that because me, I like to get in, get it done, and be done with it. Right. But it took a while. I got my car serviced on Saturday, and I was there using their free Wi-Fi with my my VPN, because you want to have VPN when you're using free Wi-Fi to protect your computer and your identity and all that. And so anyway, I was there studying on my computer, my laptop or whatever. And then later on, it was the next day, I did 2 modules and 2 exams that morning when I was in another hotel in Virginia. And then I stayed until like the last second to check out. And then I spent time with a friend. And then after we had lunch or whatever, I went eventually to this hotel, right? And I think I did 2 or 3 more modules that evening. I pretty much was done. And then the last module was what you need to know in order to land a class, because I guess it's very competitive. Ari, you asked, do I have 2 bachelors in education? No, I don't have a bachelor's or a master's in education. This is all new for me. A lot of this education thing for me is I love to teach. I love to explain things. And I've always been that way. I never thought that getting into teaching or education was for me because I wanted to do something else. And most people would say, oh, you should teach. You should be a teacher, But I never really gave it much thought. And so now I'm kind of in the position where this could possibly be something that I can start off doing online. Now, being a teacher in a regular classroom, I doubt that I would do that. But when I got my master's program, most of my classes were online. And we didn't necessarily have the Skype thing going on or whatever, but the courses and everything were online. We had our webinars, we had our PowerPoint presentations. And so I'm very, very much familiar with being a student in a program that everything is digital, everything is online. And so I personally prefer that style of teaching and learning anyway, because you can always go back and look at the notes. You can always go back and look at the PowerPoint. You don't have to ask the teacher, could you repeat that? Especially if it's a recorded audio session or whatever. And so if you have questions, you can always email your professor, teacher, what have you. And I prefer that kind of environment. So anyway, now, obviously, I'm not a student right now. I'm actually transitioning into teaching small kids. I prefer one-on-one, like tutor type style versus a room full of kids watching me on a screen, teach them, because not every child is at the same learning speed as another child, And I gravitate to the children that need a little bit more instruction. And I'm thinking back when I was in college many years ago. And I remember part of my one of my volunteer uh, projects I had to do was with another student. Um, we were classmates, and this was our semester project or whatever. And so we went over to either Arlington or Alexandria, Virginia, to a middle school, and we were supposed to help tutor some kids that were disruptive in class, and how people label children as the bad apple, whatever. And half the time it's because they're not getting the attention that they need in order to focus. And also sometimes if you're just screaming and yelling at kids, then they don't even want to try anyway. You're adding gas to the flame. And so I remember this teacher was like, you work with these kids. The kids that we were working with were the ones who are rowdy. And so I remember giving them eye contact, because I think it's very important to let them know that you see them. And I think sometimes in these classrooms where there's so many children, as far as the ratio between the children and the teacher is crazy. Like I know some classes is up to 30 kids in one class, and we're talking about small kids. We're not talking about a lecture hall, your senior year in college or whatever, or your fourth year in college. We're talking about small kids. And so it's unfortunate. But anyway, I remember we went, I think twice a week or whatever. And like I said, this particular group of kids, when we were there and I gave them eye contact, and I noticed that there was like the leader. There's always a leader, right? There's always a leader. So I found the leader and I gave him eye contact, and I joked with him a little bit, but I gave him that look like, we are here to learn. We're not here to play the entire time. You'll have time to play, but right now we need to focus. And I said, what is it that you want to get out of this? And these are middle schoolers. So after the initial kind of like nervous laugh, you know how kids do the nervous laugh thing and think everything's funny. And then he realized that I cared that he would learn something. And literally after I found the leader and got him under control, and he felt like he had something to contribute to the class, and I made sure that he knew that he was more than capable of learning, that he was not a knucklehead. He was not, a class clown. He was more than that. It's okay to have fun, but then you have to understand there's a time and place for that. So anyway, once I kind of got in his head, then the rest is history. So I had a little taste with that. I've helped one of my friends with her kids, and one of her kids has a touch of autism, and so I had firsthand experience with how to show him something, how to explain something to him in a way that he will understand and he can retain what I just said. Eye contact, again, is very, very important. So back to me transitioning into possibly teaching online. Yeah, that's something I'm going to end up getting used to. So wish me luck. And that's just one of many things that I have under my belt right now, or under my radar, I should say, because I am very much looking forward to having time freedom. All right. Time freedom. And not just time freedom, but just financial freedom. Of course, like I said, with this whole transition and Mercury retrograde, you know, all of this, I was telling a friend, I said, the average person would have, how did I put this? Because I was talking about, a couple of challenges I've been dealing with the past few weeks or so. And I was telling her, and I just thought about that. And I don't know if it came out of me, like from my psyche, or it came from a higher space or higher place. And I had to verbalize it to hear it myself, almost like a confirmation. But I told her, I said, the average person would have fell apart by now. I said, the average person would have fell apart by now. I said, but I'm not average. I'm resilient. And for a second there, I got goosebumps when I said that. And I'm like, did I actually say that? Because I was trying to get her to kind of change the subject so we can talk about something else. But when I said that, it was like confirmation, like I am not average. I'm not. I was built to thrive. I was built to be resilient. I come from resilience, okay? And then I think about those who came before me and their obstacles that they had to deal with. And what I'm dealing with is nothing compared to the hell that they went through just to survive. But then I am a descendant of those resilient people. And so, when I said it, like I said, I was like, snap out of it. You're a winner. You always was a winner. You always will be. You always were a winner. You always will be a winner. We're just dealing with whatever we're dealing with, right? Make the best out of it. Hi, sweet. Thanks for chiming in. You notice I got on this headset, huh? Hopefully, the audio sounds better than it has in the past, and I hope all is well with you. Yeah, like I said, the pay is not necessarily exciting, but I'm actually excited about this potential opportunity. Like, they've already accepted my application to speed up the process. They said, oh, you don't have to have an interview. All you need to do is do a demo class and, go through our study material so you can be prepared for that. And then I just scheduled, they call it a mock course or mock class, where a mock teacher or instructor or whatever is going to pretend like he or she is a child. And, I will pretend that they're a child, and, that's how they can evaluate if I am the ideal candidate for teaching online for that particular level. And my thing is, they're not just learning from me, I'm learning from them. These little kids, some of the things that they say, and we've all been kids before. We've said things, at a very young age, and adults will be like, where did that come from? Or that's so funny that she knew that at that age. So I'm looking forward to meeting the little faces and just seeing their eyes light up when they learn a new word in English, and they could teach me a word in their language, So it's an exchange of learning, okay? Like, we're in this together, okay? Yeah, I am excited. I'm a little nervous because it's new territory, it's a new platform or whatever. But I've had my share of experiences with children, different personalities, different gifts. And when they understand where I'm coming from, then they gravitate to me, One of my nephews, well, yeah. My youngest nephew had passed away a few years ago he was an infant, like a newborn. But his brother, who is now officially the youngest nephew of mine, um, he has a spirit of he has a warrior spirit, and I have never spent too much time around him because I live here and I'm busy, work, whatever, right? And so, long story short, my little nephew and my niece, their sister brother, they spent the night with me when I was down in North Carolina visiting. And let's just put it this way: this child, I admire his spirit, but it has to be tailored, because if he continues how he's been, then he will be labeled as the problem child, right? And some teachers they won't have patience for that. And so he had a couple of meltdowns with me. And I remember when I was talking to him, he didn't want to look at me in my face. I said, I need you to look at me in my face, look in my eyes. And eventually he did. I said, you're not in trouble. I don't appreciate you talking to your sister that way. You need to apologize to her. I said, but you're not in trouble. Because the first thing he thought was, you're going to tell my mama, which is my sister. You're going to tell my mama, she going to whoop me. I'm like, I'm not telling her nothing. I said, you're not in trouble. Like, he instantly was like, when I told him, don't speak to your sister that way, he just automatically had a meltdown and just went in the other room and slammed the door, whatever he called himself doing. He was having a fit, typical. I think he's 6 now, 5 or 6 years old. And so I had to reassure him. I said, you are not in trouble. I said, but you need to know that that was not nice, what you did to your sister, or how he talked to her or something. It was like when some children, they do stuff to get attention regardless of what it is. And it was like he was just doing stuff to get any kind of attention. And it's sad because I was giving them both attention, but he didn't want me to give his sister any attention. So it was like, that kind of like sibling rivalry type thing, But anyway, I love him. And if I was with him on a daily basis, that I could, what's the word? I could work with his personality. But being that I'm not around him that much, I don't necessarily feel like I have the weight to have any kind of influence or lasting influence. Let's just put it that way. So that's where I am right now, guys. And that's why you see me with the headset. Now, I do have this new webcam that I got. Logi, Logi. Because my stupid laptop, I think with the upgrade with Windows 10 years ago, my webcam no longer worked. I initially thought maybe it never worked on this laptop. But I think what happened was when I first got this laptop, it was Windows 7. And within months, a few months later, Windows 10 was updated or added to this laptop. So it is what it is. I've read so many reviews and so many problems and issues out there with Windows 10 and webcams. So I end up having to get a hard, and I have to admit right now, I would say I am an advocate for hardware versus software. I know software has its place, right? But some things like right now, I have this headset plugged up into my laptop. Boom, problem solved. No issues with the sound or anything built into the laptop. This webcam right here, all I had to do was plug it in a USB drive. Boom, no problems. So anyway, enough of that. Let me see. I was talking about hotel reviews, but I'm kind of done talking about hotels. I'm kind of like I'm staying in some places that I've stayed before, so I really don't have anything new to say about it. Now, I did stay at Sleep In. It's under the Comfort Suites, I think, or Comfort Choice. I think that's the brand. Or Choice Hotel. I think that's what it is, Choice Hotel. My friend hooked me up with that. She gave me a link to click on or whatever. And I was able to get that room. I mean, it was a decent price. It was like $70 a night or something like that. But this past Saturday, she booked a room for me because I was in the area and just spending time with her and her kids. And she booked a hotel under the same umbrella, like Choice Hotels or whatever. It only cost her $35. Now, where I'm staying versus where she's staying, the cost of living and everything is totally different. It's extremely different. But she only spent $35 for a room. So anyway, I stayed to Sleep In for about 4 nights. Yeah, I think 4 nights. And it was so quiet. I was very surprisingly pleased with my stay there. It was very quiet. And they didn't have a kitchenette or whatever like that. But it did have a micro fridge, which is, in my opinion, is a step up from Marriott, where they have those little small fridges with no microwave. Like Courtyard Marriott, which I'll probably book for next week, they're notorious for not having microwaves in the room. Now, I prefer not to use a microwave. But when you don't have a kitchen, you got to warm up your food some kind of way. So it is what it is. But at Sleep In, they have micro fridges. And in my opinion, the layout of this room was very similar to Courtyard. Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. The side of town I wasn't that familiar with. It was right on the edge of where my job is, and that area is questionable, you know. But I think where I stayed, it was decent as far as crime. But I mean, you can tell when you go to a place and they got cameras everywhere, and they lock, like this hotel literally will lock the front door at 8 o'clock. Not 10 o'clock, not 11 o'clock, not even midnight, but 8 o'clock in the evenings. You had to have a key card just to get in the building. Now, to me, that sounds like, you know, inner city, DC type, you know, all the establishments are like that. They keep the homeless people out. But there, I was like, I don't know. And then there was a cop that was sitting outside in the parking lot when I would get off of work, and he would just be sitting out there like on an edge or in the corner of the lot watching, I guess, you know, patrolling or whatever. But then at night, he ain't there. So I'm like, okay, so in the daytime, you sitting there looking, but then when the sun go down, you're not around. So I didn't know about all that. But I mean, it was kind of nice knowing they had cameras everywhere, but at the same time, it was weird. And it was very quiet. This place is a bit more lively. And when I say lively, not like party central, but like tonight they have this social going on downstairs where they play games and they have free food, you know, like finger foods and stuff like that. So, and I have yet to participate in that because I'm not a social butterfly. Once I get off of work and I come in here and shut the door and lock it, I'm done. As some people say, when the bra comes off, that's it. Once that woman take her bra off, she is done. She ain't going back outside. She is in for the night. Or like if you really want to go back, like older people, as soon as the sun go down, the screen door lock, if you come there, she ain't open up the door. That's how, them folks get down. Like as soon as that sun go down, screen door locked, bolt locked, that door ain't opening until the next day when that sun come up. So I kind of got that in me a little bit. I'm like, But I mean, like I said, this place is pleasant. For the most part, I've enjoyed being at Sonesta. And I've mentioned before, they don't have Sonestas everywhere. Like there's not even one Sonesta in the state of Virginia. There's only 2 in Maryland. I think there's 1 in North Carolina, like in it's either Charlotte or the Raleigh, Durham area, I think. They do have 1 in New Orleans. And I was thinking to myself, whenever I go back, maybe I'll stay at that Sonesta, But anyway, I'm moving on from that topic. Powwow. Yes, powwow. Yeah. Ari, you said way too much going on in schools. Yeah, I don't want to be in a school with leaving one place with a bunch of personality disorders and then going to another place. And then you have to deal with the children and you're dealing with the adults and the children's parents or guardians. Online, one-on-one, I'm good with that. Now, back to this whole powwow thing. As you guys know, if you're familiar with powwow, powwow season typically starts in April and typically is over in September. Not always the case because I've been to powwows during the off season. I prefer off season powwows anyway because, the temperature is a lot more pleasant. It was an outdoor event. And, I like to have something at least once a month that's pertaining to Indigenous American festivities and meetups and stuff like that. But the reason why I'm bringing this up is because one of my buddies, one of my BFFs, she sent me, she posted on her page a flyer of this powwow in Durham, North Carolina, which is, I think it's September the 12th. Let me see if I can find it. Hold on. I'm getting to it, guys. I'm getting to it. Just give me a second. Okay, so I'm all for a good powwow. I've been to my share of powwows, and some are very welcoming. Some are very competitive. Some are wacky. And then you have some that are not welcoming. And so when I saw this flyer, I was like, I had to do a double take. I was like, oh, I am so there. I am so there. So anyway, I'm going to read a couple of things here. Hold on. 1 second here. Because this was something she posted, and I was like, I'm so there. I would definitely support it. Da, da, da. Anyway, this particular powwow was advertised as Black Indian powwow. Oh yes, in the state of North Carolina. You heard it right. You heard it right. So, okay. So I said, oh, I would definitely, I would definitely support this. Like for real, I am so there. And one of my my buddies, she, I would consider her like a mentor for me. Because when I first start attending powwows and just getting familiar with that form of public display of pride in their Indigenous American connection to this world we live in, right? And again, powwows. My group of people were not powwowing. This was like all new for me. Like, what is a powwow? So anyway, when I first met her, she was definitely an advocate to be all in, dance, wear their regalia, walk a certain way, talk a certain way, give up on the whole Christianity thing, go back to traditional spirituality and all that, right? I mean, she came at me hard. And I have nothing but respect for her, but over the years, I had to kind of like have my own voice. And I'm like, as you guys can see on my YouTube page, my name is Black and Indigenous American. Not just Black and not just Indigenous American, Both actually is a reflection of my ancestry, right? But within many tribal communities, it is frowned upon to publicly, not self-identify within your group and your clique or whatever, but publicly identify with anything Black. And in some cases, anything white, right? And so when she was telling me, you either gonna be Native American or Indigenous American, or you're gonna be Black. You gotta choose. Ain't no, one foot over here and one foot over there. No, you have to be either Native American and be all about that, or be Black and just be all about that. And I didn't agree with it then, and I sure the hell don't agree with it now. Okay. So let me read this flyer to you guys. It says Southern School of Energy and Sustainability, hosted by Black Indians, NC for North Carolina Advisory Council. I repeat, hosted by Black Indians, North Carolina Advisory Council. September the 12th, from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Grand entries at 12. And that's typically when the grand entry is. It says the first Black Indians powwow for North Carolina. Conversation circles from 10 to 11 a.m. So right before, grand entry, it says a talk about African American, and Indigenous heritage. There is a difference. And a lot of people, they don't get it, don't want to get it, don't care to get it. A talk about, you have Africans, right? You have African Americans, and then you have Indigenous heritage. Come enjoy drummers, dancers, vendors, and more. Nokoma. I don't know what dialect that is. For media inquiries, email hello@nakomapr.com. Again, media inquiries, email hello@nakomapr.com. The address is 800 Clayton Road, Durham, North Carolina, 27703. So when I first saw this, I was like, is this seriously a powwow? Like, for real. Is this seriously a powwow in the state of North Carolina? And it says Black Indians powwow. That in of itself would cause a lot of people to not show up at all, right? This was posted by Kimberly M. Knight, Knight, and it was posted on the Halawasaponi and Friends Facebook page. Yeah. I'm getting to it, y'all. I'm getting to it. Okay. To protect people's person or protect people's identity, I'm not going to necessarily say who said what, right? But I'm going to read what I said. Up under this that my friend posted on her Facebook page, she shared it, right? I said, what? Oh, I am so there. And then again, my mentor, she commented and says, wonder will the HS come? Question mark, meaning Halawasaponi. Remember a time when Black people could not ride through the community. Sad there are some older people who still think that way, even though there are many brown people in the community. Glad things have changed. Okay. Then here's me coming in. I said, explain, couldn't ride through Durham? Because remember, this powwow's in Durham. It didn't say anything about Halawasaponi anywhere on that flyer. So I assumed she meant Durham. And then she says, in the 60s, early 70s, anyone that was brown, non-native, were not allowed in Hollister. People would be blocked in the highway or could be beaten up if they came in the community. There was a lot of prejudice in this community. My great-grandmother married another native, another tribal community, and he was not allowed in the community. And this was the late 1800s because he was not from here, meaning Hollister, North Carolina, even though he was native. Then she comes back and says, again, my mentor, she says, I was saying they may not attend because it is a Black Native American powwow. There is still an issue with identifying as Black in the community. Then I said, oh, I thought you were talking about Durham because the powwow will be in Durham. And then I said, white folks may not attend? Like, that's the first thing that popped in my head. Like, white folks? Are you talking about them? Is anyone going to lose any sleep if white folks don't show up at a powwow? No. And then she comes back and says, the Halawasaponi may not attend. And then my best buddy, she came in and said, so sad. If they went back in time, they would see many natives that appeared to be what we now call Black. We really need to do better. And then my mentor said, exactly. Natives come in all shades. Now let me stop you there. Let me stop right there. This mentor was the one who helped me kind of get acquainted with a lot of internal tribal politics, right? She was just giving me the ins and outs, the nitty gritty, just getting down with it, how it is. And I was annoyed by it then, and I'm annoyed by it now. And back then she was like, you need to be all about Native American or you're not gonna be taken seriously, right? And then in this comment right here, she just said, exactly, natives come in all shades. She knows this. She's been knowing this from day one. But in order to be taken seriously by other people who, quote, unquote, or whatever, look the part, right? You got to be all in and deny anything else that's not favorable to those people that you hope will receive you and accept you into their circle. Okay. This is still going on, and it's just ridiculous. It really is. Okay, somebody try to call me. Hold on. Hold on. Give me a moment here. 1 second. Being that this is live, I don't think I can pause it. So just give me a moment here. There was a request for a chair to be put somewhere on a deck, and I just got a text message with the image of the chair where I wanted it. So let me make this quick phone call, and well, I'm not gonna make the call. It'll just wait. So anyway, back to what I was saying. Let me check the chat to see if you guys are saying anything. Yeah, Ari says not welcoming. That's nuts. Yeah, you do have powwows where you just, if you have intuition, you have discernment or whatever, you know when your kind or your kind of Indigenous American is not welcome. I've been to a few of those. Sweet says, oh yes, that good going. That's good about going to North Carolina. Yeah. And I mean, by that time, guys, I'm going to be in North Carolina. But I'm just not going to be near Durham. I'll be more like 4 hours away, but I would make that drive. Oh, yes. Because when I first started doing this whole powwow thing, like seriously, I was driving 3-4 hours to go to powwows and turn right back around and drive 3-4 hours back to my place. That's how much I invested in that aspect of my ancestry. Not necessarily powwows, but just being connected with people who are from that region, who are Indigenous American, and who are putting back the pieces that were not revealed to them earlier in life, you know. So later in life, they're putting it all back together. And so there is community, you know. So I mean, that's the reality. A lot of Indigenous people or people connected to Indigenous tribal communities, they have to travel, you know. Some people may have to be at work or whatever, but whenever there's something going on in their community, be it a ceremony of some sort, a gathering, a homecoming, anything, your butt better be there. You are still part of that community. And so that was me going to powwows to connect with people. And so I would drive several hours and turn right back around and drive, you know, back to where I came from. So yeah. Oh, I am so there. I'm so there. And plus my sister lives in Durham, so I can always crash at her place. You know, it's not a problem. I wouldn't have to get a hotel. Let's see. But I've been racking up a bunch of points, so I'm sure I can get a free night or two, you know, from all of this hotel staying I've been doing now. Pony says, greetings to the host and to the nations. Hi. Thanks for chiming in, Pony. Thanks for checking out this video. Erie Ben says September the 2nd, mental note. No, it's September the 12th. September the 12th, okay? If you choose to support that that event. I might do a video. I don't know if I'm gonna do live, because one thing about live streaming I've noticed is very unpredictable. And I don't know what kind of service I will have in the space wherever it may be. And so it'd probably be best just to record it and then upload it later. And I don't like doing that too, because sometimes it takes forever to upload and blah, 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 blah. But I will definitely promote this. And I have a few connections with radio stations. Jay Nightwolf, if you guys might know of him, he's in the DC area. He has a talk show. And the Matchatucket Pequot, there's this satellite radio station I've talked to you guys about before. It's called Native Opinions. Native Opinions. They have free podcasts. They also have their YouTube channel where you can listen to their sessions. And at the end of the day, I know they would market it as well. Okay, Ari says one of his sisters live in Raleigh. Oh, cool. Well, if you do decide to go to that powwow or whatever, then maybe you can save some money and stay at your sister's. Okay, back to this comment. So anyway, I picked it up and I said, well, I will support it and I don't care who likes or dislikes it. I'm so tired of the hypocrisy within some circles. I made sure I said some circles, because everyone, this Hollow-Wassa Pony, does not think that way. So again, if you come across a member of a particular group that treats you like crap or disrespects you, or even like on social media, you know, they have that little gang of people, their little clique or their clan within that tribe, they are not the voice of everyone. They're not. They are not the voice of everyone. I have connections with people that are Hollow-Wassa Pony, Occaneechi Saponi down in North Carolina, right? Lumbee, Tuscarora. You know, I'm thinking of North Carolina right now, you know, the groups in North Carolina. So the point I'm trying to make is, even though there can be some negative experiences with a particular group, that does not necessarily mean that everyone within that group thinks like that. Now, I've been to several Hollow-Wassa Pony powwows. It's one of the biggest powwows in the state of North Carolina. And they have a lot of prize money. And dancers come from all over to go to that powwow. Brooke Simpson, if you follow The Voice, she was on The Voice, and she was one of the top 3 contestants or whatever. I think this was like 2 years ago. She's Hollow-Wassa Pony. And one thing I noticed about her, when she introduced herself, whenever she introduced herself, when she was interviewed, she always says, I am 100% Native American. I am an enrolled member of the Hollow-Wassa Pony tribe. And after about 3 or 4 times of hearing her say that in different interviews, I thought to myself, why does she feel the need to say she's 100% Native American? What is that? Like, seriously, what is that? Why does she have the need to say she's 100% Native American? She could have been saying, I'm Native American, and I'm an enrolled member of the Hollow-Wassa Pony tribe in the state of North Carolina. That's all she had to say. She's 100% Native American. But her husband has dreads. He looks like a black man. He's probably not just black, because you know how the black community in America we can be very diverse with our genetic pool, right? But I don't know if they need to have that on record that she's 100% Native American and he's Black. So if they have a kid, the child will be enrolled as Holowasaponi because of her mom or his mom, right? Because the mother was 100% Native American. So the child can be able to be enrolled with no issues. Because there are heavily mixed members enrolled in that tribe. You know what I mean? So I don't know if it's the matrilineal type rule thing. Well, as long as that mom is enrolled and she's 100% Native American, then the kids will be okay. That makes you think. Like she had to put it on record, you know, that she's 100% Native American. And I'm saying to myself, I've seen several Indigenous American people who represent their community, right? And it's rare that I ever hear anyone say they're 100% Native American. They may say I'm 100% Dene or I'm 100% Apache or whatever, you know, or whatever the clan is. But to say I'm 100% Native American, I begin to see red flags with that, but whatever. And then after I made that comment about I'm tired of the hypocrisy within some circles, and then my mentor says, exactly. And then I said, the last time I attended their powwow was my last time. Seriously, I left about 45 minutes. The energy alone is judgmental. Yeah, I said it. Oh, I said it. That was not my first time going either. But that last time was my last time. And one of my buddies, she's part of my group. She's from my same region where I'm from. And she saw me there at that powwow. And she noticed I left. Within like 45 minutes, I was out of there. And she sends me a private message and she asks me, where did you go? When did you leave? And I told her, I was like, you know, something was off and I needed to leave. And, you know, I hope you had a good time, whatever like that. But yeah, I had to go. And long story short, one of her best buddies, rest his soul, because he's no longer in the physical. Apparently it got back to him that some people felt a certain kind of way about his community and his community's powwow. And so he posted something nasty on Facebook, like, well, if you don't want to be at you know my powwow, then F you, and you don't need to come back, and nobody asked you, and da, 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 da. So even though my name was not brought up, but I have this gut feeling that he was in his feelings, and I probably wasn't the only one, again, that had something not so supportive to say. I just pretty much was like, I felt like I needed to go. And that's what I did. I left. And so when he posted that, I was like, she must have ran back and said something to him. Because again, they were like peanut butter and jelly, you know. And it might have hurt his feelings because that community has so much pride. You know, they've come so far. They did a lot of legwork over the generations, you know, to get where they are. And for someone like myself to not feel comfortable in leaving, I think he took that personal because he always would go out of his way to make me feel comfortable. And so, and that was the personality he had. He was such a easygoing person, and again, had very prideful, had nothing but love for his community. And when me and whoever else, I guess somebody else must have said something, didn't feel like it was worth staying, I think he really took offense to it. So, but before he passed, I think there was a bit of what's the word I'm trying to say? I guess you can say we good now, forgiveness kind of thing, that vibe I got from him before he crossed over. But yeah, I think he was one of a handful of people within that community that went out of his way to show a more inclusive aspect of the community. And it's unfortunate that some people within their community feel the need that they have to go above and beyond to not be seen as negative from other people, because some people within their group give their community a bad rap, and anyway, my mentor went on and says, and she named surname, she says, my blah 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 are here in Hollister, and I've never felt completely welcomed. And then my best buddy says, makes no sense for natives to not welcome all natives. Colonizers' mentality has caused them to hate their own. Exactly. And then I said, honestly, I believe the roles magically open to whoever they want and stay closed for everybody else, regardless of blood connections. And my mentor says, there may be something to that. There are plenty of people who live away and their parents and grandparents on the roll, but they couldn't get on even when the roll was open again for a few months. It's BS. And I was like, yep. And that's how that conversation ended. Now, my mentor has all her paperwork, genealogy, this thick binder, okay? Documents, pictures, and everything. I've seen all the stuff that she collected over the years. Going to the courthouse, getting documents notified, everything. And they still didn't receive her on paper. She is an enrolled member of another tribal community that's recognized, but she still feels saddened that her Halawassaponi indigenous, relatives are not, well, they may acknowledge her ancestors that are connected to them, but their roles are closed. Apparently, they have their roles open for newborns, that are born in the community. Anyway, the point is, people are going to receive who they want to receive and deny who they want to deny. So back to this powwow. Like I said, this girl's name who is hosting it or whatever, or posted it. And like I said, it was posted on Halawasaponi and Friends Facebook page. This lady's name, a young lady, her name is Kimberly M. Knight, Knight. She's the one who posted it. I wouldn't think this would be a privacy thing as far as me putting her name out there, because I mean, hello, she's marketing it. It's not like it's a secret. And so she's on Facebook, and you check her out. And like, for real. This is what she says. She says, greetings, Halawasaponi and friends. My name is Kimberly Knight, and I'm the lead organizer of the Advisory Council of the Black Indians North Carolina 2020 Powwow. I invite you all to save the date of Saturday, September 12th, and join us for this open to the public powwow celebrating the heritage of Black and Indigenous people of North Carolina. I don't know if she knows what she is getting herself in. I don't know how old this young lady is, but people cringe. They cringe when they hear or read Black Indian. They cringe. And I remember when I used to, refer to myself as a Black Indian, I mean, it doesn't matter to me, but I don't typically say I'm a Black Indian anymore. I say I'm Black and Indigenous American. And you have some people that have an issue with me even saying Black. Because Black is a color. Of course, my skin is not black, right? My hair is, but my skin is not. I don't have an issue with it, but some people do have an issue with referring to yourself as Black versus, Indigenous or whatever your tribal connection is. Like Fulani or something like that, right? In Africa. So anyway, that's what I was talking about as far as powwows. Because like I said, powwow season typically starts in April and it ends in September. Or I think August, September is when it pretty much ends. I've always talked about my favorite powwow thus far. It's the Nottoway powwow, Nottoway tribe of Virginia. And their powwows typically the third weekend in September, typically. I mean, obviously, if there's a hurricane, then it will be rescheduled, because that's what happened, I think, in 2017. Let's see. So the Nottoway powwow would typically be, I would say, the 19th and 20th of September. So this Durham powwow will not be in any kind of way of my favorite powwow. So I would say that's 2 back-to-back powwows for the month of September. And I prefer off-season powwows because the temperature and everything, and when you're traveling, it's not as hectic getting around versus in the summertime. You have beach traffic and whatever events are going on in big cities and stuff. And if you live in a metropolitan area, you got to deal with all of that. So off-season for me is ideal when you're traveling. Okay, let me read these comments here. Pony says, yes, I remember Minister Farrakhan admitting that his wife attended powwow on Jay Nighthawk's show. Oh, yeah, I remember that talk show. Yeah. It's funny that we're talking about Jay Nighthawk. He interviewed me and Mr. a couple of years ago. He was working on some project, and we were in D.C. and we were at the radio station. And I was just going there with Mr. because Jay Nighthawk ask Mr. to come in or whatever. So I was going to just sit in the background and just observe. But of course, Jay Nighthawk is not going to allow you to be in a room and don't talk. And it kind of pissed me off because I'm like, look, I'm not part of this project. Anyway, he pulled me into the project anyway. And I don't know whatever came out of that. Like, I hadn't heard anything else about it. I might ask Mr. if Jay Nighthawk or whatever, if he continued the project or what it was. But, he asked, so what is your tribal affiliation? And I told him whatever. And I was like, and I'm also African American, Black, da 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 da. I'm not going to choose and blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, he ended up interviewing me, and I did not want to be interviewed. I'll do the YouTube thing or whatever. But I've been asked to be interviewed a few times on different platforms. And I was like, no. So I'm actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I might send Jay a private message and ask him, like, whatever happened to that project? It has something to do, I think some people from Germany or whatever were doing some kind of project, and they wanted to be on a platform that was tell it like it is type platform, so they can understand the culture and the dynamics and everything, the complexities and everything in this country. And apparently I ended up on part of this project. So yeah, Jay Nighthawk, he's definitely well known in the area. And there was an event called Shifting the Paradigm in Maryland, near Annapolis, this past Saturday. And Alice Moore, she is the co-host, co-founder of this workshop. I've been the past 2 years, but this time around, with everything going on, I was unable to go. And Jay Nighthawk was there, or Nightwolf. Is it Jay Nightwolf or Jay Nighthawk? I don't know. I keep getting it mixed up. He was there, the presidential candidate, the Indigenous American guy. Let me see if I can get his information, because it's right on the tip of my tongue. Let me see. Let's see. Shifting the Paradigm. To Humanity. Yeah. It was the theme was Healing 2020. It was at the historic London Town and Gardens, and this was this past Saturday in Edgewater, Maryland. And so let's see, I had some great speakers, and one of my buddies that I mentioned to you guys before, she's Lumbee. She was actually there as a, what did they call her? Sister of ceremony. I guess she was introducing people, because this time around, I don't think she did most of the speaking or any speaking, but just introducing the speakers. So, and I feel like she's in North Carolina. She made the trip up for this conference. So that was pretty good. Let's see. Let me see if I can get the names of folks. It's like right on the tip of my tongue. So Alice Moore, Simmons, and Elena Jimenez, they are the co-hosts, co-founders of the annual Shifting the Paradigm Back to Humanity conference, and obviously it's during Black History Month. So you have the African American, Black, and also Indigenous American influences that are being highlighted during this conference. So yeah, Jay was there, and like I said, the presidential candidate, the indigenous candidate was there. And let's see, a few other speakers that I have never met. Let's see. And I mean, you can find them on Facebook. If you go to your search engine in Facebook and type in "Shifting the Paradigm Back to Humanity," you'll see some clips from this past Saturday. They were not live streaming the entire thing, but I think next year they're going to do that. And then that way, for people like me that may be far away from Maryland, come next year, can still you know, kind of sort of participate. So Mark Charles, he's running as an independent, the U.S. presidency. The only Native American running for the U.S. presidency is Mark Charles. He's running as an independent. So he was there. And let's see, a lot of other people too. So yeah, you can just go ahead and check that out. So there, let's see, Lumbee was represented there. Halawasaponi was represented there. Tico was there, or Tabas was there. Tomas, he's a photographer, and he takes amazing pictures of some of the most intense moments in our history. For instance, Standing Rock, like one of his pictures was on the national news and everything like that. Yeah, so again, you guys can look at the Facebook page. It's called Shifting the Paradigm Back to Humanity. And it's one of the best conferences, I would say, that I've ever attended. So let's see. I'm looking at these comments again. Ari says, I've got family that grew up in packs, so corny. You know what? I have to admit, I'm a pack type person. I had to kind of get out of that when I moved into this area. Because you're more comfortable when you're with your clique, right? I was very cliquey. I mean, I still have the tendency to be kind of cliquey. But I had to push myself over the years to not always click with these groups of people, or that group of people, or that person, or that person. Like, I have friends that don't like my other friends, right? Just to spice things up. Like, I'm not going to just be friends with you and not be friends with that person because you don't like them. You know, there's something about that person that I can learn from. There's something about that person that has value. And just because you don't like them, that does not mean that I can't benefit from what gift or whatever they have that makes them themselves, right? Makes them them. But yeah, it's real easy to be cliquish. It's real easy. So, yeah, I do. I know I had to work on that over the years. Sweet says, do you think they want people to clear that? Don't call me Black. I am Native from my ancestors. Do you think they want people to be clear? Don't call me Black. I am Native from my ancestors. I don't know. I don't know. I have Afrocentric people on YouTube every so often, not as much now. But yeah, when I first got on YouTube, they were constantly telling me, you know, stop calling yourself Black. And There's no such thing as black and blah, 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 blah. And again, occasionally some people will pop in and say things like that. And I understand the color thing. Like, I'm not black. Like, this headset right here is black. I'm not that color. I'm more of a reddish, brown tone or whatever, you know. Some areas of my skin is lighter because it doesn't get that much sun. But for the most part, I have a brown copper kind of color. But when I say black, I'm thinking about the dark continent, which is Africa, right? I have connections to that continent, dark people, so whatever. I don't take offense to it. Let's see. Ari says, something ruffled your feathers and you hit the road. Oh, you must be talking about the powwow. Yeah. You know what bothered me, I think? What really, really bothered me? I did not see representation of indigenous people from that region. What I saw was representation of indigenous people from out west. And when I said, I'm not saying these people were not Hollow Saponi or from North Carolina, the indigenous connection or whatever. I'm not talking about that. I'm saying the reflection, the representation, I did not see it there. I saw people dressed up like indigenous American people in Albuquerque somewhere. That's what I had a problem with, for the most part. When you have outsiders coming to a function or a festival like that, they typically want to see what the people in that region would have dressed like, what they would have danced like, what they would have as far as craft stuff, if they did basket weaving, what kind of pattern they would use, what kind of color cloth they would use in their regalia, that type of stuff. That's what irritated me. I want to see a reflection. I want to see a representation of indigenous American people on the East Coast, specifically North Carolina. I can go anywhere and see people who represent New Mexico or, Arizona or whatever like that, which is a beautiful, amazing, magical place. Those places, the Four Corner regions of the United States, is some of the most beautiful, mystical places that I've ever had the privilege and the honor to experience. But when people go to functions on the East Coast, they have no clue who is what and what is what. I believe not only are you doing a disservice to them, you're doing a disservice to you and your community when you are not dancing or dressing or what have you like your ancestors were doing in the same region 500 years ago or 300 years ago. Now, I do understand you have gaps. You have disconnection due to colonization, due to assimilation and things of that nature. I mean, the East Coast, we got it first. We got it first. And I understand you putting the pieces back together, be it language, be it dance, be it culinary arts. For the most part, you're putting it back together the best way you know how. And sometimes words and customs are just they're not tangible, something wasn't written down by a white person or whatever. So what you have, what is the next best thing? A living language, a living culture that is close to what your community would have been doing. So you adopt some words and you make it your own, like the Tutelo language. There's very little content out there as far as trying to revamp the language, you know. Uh, so, and I haven't really been practicing that much, but I have learned a few words and phrases in the Lenape dialect, which is Algonquin, and they were mostly coastal uh, tribal people, right? So they have a dictionary online. A lot of people are speaking. There's Lenape, the dialect as far as Algonquin. So you do have people talking that way. And even though where I'm from, they would have been speaking Tutelo, but there's just not enough content out there. There's not enough people out there who speak it fluently. I think the closest language to Tutelo, as far as similarity, would be Navajo. There's some similar words in Navajo. So you have that. So I can't totally dismiss a particular festival just because I don't see a reflection of the people in that region. What I see is something you would see at the Gathering of Nations. That's what I'm seeing. I'm not seeing what I hoped I was going to see. And so when I was at that last powwow, it was disappointing because I said, what I'm seeing is people proud of their heritage, but they have adopted other forms of dance, styles of dance, and regalia and things of that nature. And then I was told by a few people that's been on this powwow trail for a minute, they said they would love to dance their traditional way based on their region where their people come from. However, if you want to place in powwows, you have to dance powwow style. So it may not necessarily be from where you're from, that style of dance or whatever, but if you want to place in powwows and things of that nature, and you do want to represent your community, right? Then you will adopt a powwow style dance. And then if there's a dance that's, traditionally within your community, you do that at your own gatherings, your own private thing. But when it comes to powwows and placing and all of that stuff, some people feel somewhat obligated. If they want to be a part of a powwow community, that's what they need to do. So, but again, I'm not into powwows like that. As far as being in it, I mean, I may go and I may dance a few rounds during intertribal. But at this point, I'm just there to just see people I hadn't seen in a while. People obviously on Facebook, you see them all the time, but you'll eventually see them at a powwow, maybe once or twice a year, tops, if they live far away. So that's pretty much why I attend certain powwows. And again, some powwows are just not welcoming for my kind of Indigenous American. It's just not. And it's unfortunate. But feels like the one I just was talking about in Durham, oh, I'm going to support this one. You better believe it. I'm supporting it. And They had something similar like that in Philly, I think, Pennsylvania, last October. I couldn't get up there to see it. I mean, and where I was living, Pittsburgh, no, no, sorry, Philly would have been about 3 hour drive. So, I mean, it wasn't that far, but I wasn't able to go to that one. Then there was one in uh, the Tidewater area of Virginia, not too far from Norfolk. They had something similar like that. But this was at least a decade ago. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with Moo Fresh. She reminds me of Lauryn Hill. She sings, she raps. She's from Baltimore. They call her Moo Fresh for short, but her name is, let's see. What is her name? Because I keep up with her. Yeah. Her cousin, I'm friends with her cousin. And he and her mom were part of a singing kind of dance group thing, and they went to the Native American Museum in DC a few times and performed. Maimouna Youssef is her name. MAIMOUNA YOUSSEF. And the reason why I'm bringing her up because she and some other her family members and her mom, they put together this Black Indigenous American gathering, not necessarily a powwow, but a gathering. And again, this was several years ago. And I missed out on that because I think I was in the middle of summer classes or something. I'm sure I was, I was somewhere doing something and I couldn't get away from it. The reason why I didn't go. But that was the last one I could think of in the state of Virginia that was publicized. Not saying that they don't ever have them, but as far as being marketed, that was the one that I didn't get a chance to go to. So whatever. So those people who want to shy away from Blackness, whatever. And the thing is, it's like if you look at old pictures of people from this region and even drawings of people from this region back in the 1400s and whatever, them people now dancing and flaunting or whatever you want to call it and saying I'm 100% Native American, in today's definition, they would look like Black people. Let's keep that real. They would look like your typical Black American. You look at those pictures. I dare you. Common sense. Look at them pictures and look at people today that you consider Black. But they considered them Indigenous American because that's who they were in that region. Drawings and everything. Look at them drawings. And look at the so-called 100% Native American people now. Just saying. Each region, people look different, okay? Everybody does not look the same. I don't know how many times I have to spell that part out. I don't know how many times I have to. I am not going to look like a group of people from a different region. I don't expect for them to look like me. But at the end of the day, if their ancestry, original indigenous ancestry is here, right, then they're Indigenous American. It's just the way it is. It's just the way it is, y'all. Um, let's see. But yeah, I keep up with Moo Fresh. Again, she reminds me of Lauryn Hill, and I've met her before she became big, Moo Fresh or whatever. Yeah, I've met her mother at one of my powwows back home. After the powwow, there was a camp, like bonfire type thing. And this was like in the mid 2000s. So yeah, I definitely met her mom, and nice lady. She can throw down singing, okay? Yes, Moo Fresh got her vocal cords from her mama and her grandma. And they represent the Choctaw people and Chickasaw people. So that's where her indigenous connection comes from. And my buddy, which is her cousin, he represents Choctaw as well. And I saw him at a potluck thing back in November. I hadn't seen him in a while. And it was like we picked right back up where we left off, because I was like, I haven't seen you in a while. What's going on? And so he was, kind of getting himself back into the swing of things as far as socializing. So it was good to see him. Yeah, he's from Baltimore, just a FYI. Let's see. But he's been to the Shinnecock powwow several times. I'm a little, undercover jealous, okay, that he was able to go. But yeah. Let's see. Comments here. Ari says, are you shy? Yes, I am shy until you get to know me. And when I say shy, like, I need to warm up to an individual or group of people. And then once I warm up, then, the rest is history. Because once it's like this topic we're talking about now, it's going on almost 2 hours. For real. If it's something I care about and I'm comfortable with whoever I'm talking to, yeah, that conversation can go on forever. Pony says families which makes up nations should have their own powwow or celebrations. Yes, 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 yes. I agree. I crave gatherings where the public is not invited. And that in and of itself is definitely a tribal thing. I'm sure there are tribal communities that do have private gatherings. It's not for everybody. It's just for them. And that's something that I would like to have the privilege to participate in. So like up here, I go to all different types of things. It has nothing to do with powwows, but it's connected to indigenous folks, right, from all over. I've met several people from all over the place that represent their community very, very well. And what's nice about being near the DC area, and in some cases Baltimore as well, is that it attracts so many people for jobs and opportunities. And so they come from different walks of life, different regions. And so when they come in the area, I get a little taste of where they come from. And so, yeah, so being able to meet people, a lot of the people you'll see on TV, I've met, as far as indigenous people. It's been a privilege to be in the area, but at the same time, when it's time to walk a different path, then it's time to walk a different path. And people come and go in this area. They don't always just stay here. They come here, they serve their purpose, and then they move on to some other region. Like this one female, her name is Jordan. And Jordan, she led a lot of rallies and protests in DC, in particular um, the Keystone Pipeline and all that stuff. And she was also on, I think, CNN and some other news broadcasts. And I think now she lives out in California. But yeah, my first protest rally was at FedEx Field in Maryland. And, that's the Washington football team, National Washington football team headquarters. Well, not headquarters, but their stadium where they play their home games or whatever. Their headquarters is in Ashburn, and their training camp is, I believe, in Richmond. I don't know if they moved their training camp back to Ashburn, Virginia or not. But anyway, so the first rally I went to, Jordan was involved in that. And yeah, so. And another Indigenous American lady, she is not in the DC area now. She is, I don't know if she's in Minnesota or wherever she is, but she too was very active in DC. And so, people come and go all the time. But it's nice to have met people with influence within Indigenous American communities that are not necessarily using their trials and tribulations within their community as a crutch. If anything, it catapults them to bringing light to some issues within their region and their community. So yeah. Pony says, yes, that's what I mean. Coming together to our own gatherings. Yep. Yep. And like I say, you have people like the Lumbee people, for instance. They have a homecoming. That's usually around 4th of July week. Like it's a whole week, not just a weekend. It's like a whole week worth of activities and stuff. But I've never been. But I know people that have, because they're either related to somebody or related to someone within that community, or they are part of that community. And when I say related, meaning like they're not members, But guys, I think I'm going to end this video. I've been going on and on and on to the break of dawn. But hopefully I hope you got something out of this video. It's been a while since I've talked about powwows, right? But at the same time, I, again, feel that it's necessary to dig a bit deeper as far as connecting to ancestors and the ones that are known and unknown, right? And to me, that is my connection to my genetics, is connecting to my ancestors, and they know who I am. That's the beauty of it, right? They know their descendants. And even though some people are so caught up again with the whole color thing, the hair thing, the nose, lip thing, or whatever else thing, I respect people who are holding on to their culture, their traditions, to keep things alive. I do admire that. I'm not knocking it at all. I'm not knocking it at all, but don't turn your back on your people. Don't turn your back on your people who you feel like will make you all look a certain way. That's unfavorable, right? I'm thinking of my grandma and grandfather, my paternal grandfather and my paternal grandmother, right? that had 14 kids, and all them kids looked different. You knew they were related, but one was very, very light skinned, very, very light. And then one was very, very, very dark. Got the same parents. Same parents. Same family. Same blood. And so it's unfortunate that many of these cliques, clans, bands, whatever you want to call it, how they turn their backs on their people. Like, seriously, my dad is one out of 14 children. They all come in so many different complexions and hair texture. Like my aunt Mary. No, my aunt Julia had very kinky hair, but she had very, very light skin. Very, very light, pale skin. And my uncle, he just passed less than 6 months ago. That was my dad's last living brother. He had the darkest skin and the straightest hair. Out of all the siblings, he had the straight hair and he had the darkest skin. And they all had the same mama and daddy. One family. One blood. And so it's been way past due for our people to receive all of their relatives, you know? And once that happens, that's when the healing begins. That's when the healing begins, y'all. You have a family broken up, you know how it goes. That's deep-rooted dysfunction. So we have to acknowledge our relatives. We have to support our relatives. We have to uplift our relatives. And we have to acknowledge our ancestors. And not just pick and choose and cherry pick. Oh no. That is the ultimate disrespect. The ultimate disrespect. Okay, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks, Ari, for your compliment. Thanks, Sweet, for your compliment as well, and everyone else that has commented who has been watching or will watch this after it's posted. Again, you could have been doing anything, but you chose to watch your girl jibber and jabber about things that she believes matters. And I believe that you believe it matters too. But I thank you. So be blessed. Be a blessing to others. And until next time, toodles, guys.